I do this? No. No. So to be fair to myself, I have never done a video about this guy. I feel like with every single topic, people have a certain amount of videos that they can make about a topic before it's just like, stop. So I'm only on the first one of that, and I have a feeling it would be, at least if not the last, like the second last, because I'll get to that later. I was initially doing a video about YouTuber music in general, and I kind of hit the general points that everyone usually talks about with these sorts of things. And then it kind of just started turning into me trying to find ones that I initially didn't want to talk about or didn't think that I really would talk about, and we ended up here. I just decided to scrap that for now and just do something like this, and immediately regretted it. I find that there are two distinct types of music that I can find from this channel. So Onision either does some sort of comedy thing where it's like really exaggerated and weird and I don't really understand it. And then there's the other type of one that he does, which is very serious, sort of almost experimental type of thing, where it's like he wants to do something that is art, but it's not. And what I mean by that is both of them are kind of weird on purpose, but they're weird on purpose for very different reasons. I think both of them aren't my cup of tea personally, and I think you know that by now by clicking on this. But this one that we're talking about today is specifically the one where it's very serious. At least there's some sort of message being communicated that I personally do not think has been communicated very well, but you know, that's just me. So it's like Tommy Wiseau in a way. Wazoo, Wazow. There's The Room, which is good in a bad way because it's so weird and you all know about it by now. And then there's this other thing that he did called Apartments, and it was just really bad because it was trying to be bad on purpose. He was trying to cash in on that sort of thing. And at least we understand those things. It's bad because he was doing it on purpose, and it's good bad because he didn't know what he was doing. And then if we're trying to get into the mind of Tommy Wiseau himself, we just can't really do it because there's just so much weirdness and it's so alien. I mean, I don't understand it. And that's kind of what I'm trying to do a comparison of here, because at least with the comedy I kind of get it, even though I don't find it funny. But with this sort of stuff, I'm completely lost. Did I spell The Room with 3 O's? I did. It's really dumb. Yeah, see, I have an agenda, a binder for these notes, for these ramblings that I do. It's totally not that I'm just scribbling in it because I don't have a use for it other than that or anything. It's very special. So we're going to start with this sort of Death Note looking one, and I feel like it would be less egregious than the ones that we're going to talk about later. Honestly, the first thing I will say is I do not understand where the Death Note theme is from other than just the cosplay that's in this video, because the song to me doesn't seem like it's anything in particular to do with the themes of Death Note, at least unless you make it extremely broad and vague to the point where everything has everything to do with anything. And I get it. Having things just for the sake of it because you're a fan of something is okay. I don't have a problem with that whatsoever. It's not done very well. I mean, coming from me, I don't cosplay because I'm just not good at doing that sort of thing. I like doing crafts and making things as much as the next person, but I'm not really putting in my resources to that sort of thing, so I kind of commend that. But it's trying really hard to be edgy, and that's really my main problem. The lyrics are really edgy. We'll get to that in a bit, but it's just everything in this video kind of comes together like, is he trying to summon the ghost of Hot Topic, or did he just take the entire bargain bin home with him? But I'm getting ahead of myself. I didn't get to the good bit.
And that means you're mine, the children.
Is it just me, or does Homeboy sound a bit like Squidward? Old and brass and But for this video, I'm just kind of going through a few things. One positive thing that I will say is, I mean, it's not too bad. Oh, I didn't see that part yet. I take it back. The lyrics are strange. I mean, it's one of the tones of those songs. Like, you know, with Christian rock, you're like, is this about Jesus or is this about having sex? It's like, is this about psychological, like, conquest, or is it about, like, raping someone? Especially when we're talking about Onision, I can never tell. It's probably both. Also, the background instrumental is like this weird sort of combination of Alt J having a baby with social repose, and they added some mega angst from like the rejected lyrics of My Chemical Romance from the early 2000s. Now that I'm actually pulling apart the song a little bit, it's one thing that I will say that I just realized really is that it doesn't fit at all. Like, I understand you would think off the bat just like, well, psychological games is kind of what Death Note is about in a way, playing with power and all that sort of thing, but it doesn't really go. And it's not in a very very, very mismatched way that you see on the surface. It's just something about it that the more you watch it, the more you get this weird feeling. And, you know, I guess you'd have to listen to it a couple times, but I'm not doing that. I mean, I don't think I am for this video. Could have just played Dragon Quest today. But I decided to do this and I hate myself. Even my binder can't save me. I guess what I'm trying to articulate is the wording of the song is trying to go for a very specific angle of edgy that I do not think goes with Death Note. And especially when you keep in mind the sort of music, I don't think that that goes with Death Note very well as well. I mean, Death Note does have a good soundtrack, don't get me wrong. And some of it can be kind of abstract, but it doesn't really jive that well, and all of these things together just make you feel like there's something missing in this video, or there is something that shouldn't be there and you don't know what it is entirely. And that's really what my constructive criticism is after shitting all over it in a non-constructive fashion. But you know what, whatever.
Let me stand up straight for you. Let me represent. Let me pretend I respect you, but first let me vent. Don't.
So this is like an army spoken word about the military. It's not good. The song is almost structured as if it's... The lyrics don't really, again, match with the tempo and the sort of instrumental that it's going for. Again, in my opinion. I don't really listen to rap besides like Death Grips and Boy in a Band, so I'm really basic. I don't listen to spoken word besides Shane Kozan or whatever. That's pretty much it for me. So I guess this stuff could be a genre that I'm not aware of within the two genres, but for me it sounds like the really strong spoken word on the top that is cringy because it's done pretty badly, but it's supposed to be something very different that doesn't really go with the music style in my opinion. One thing that I don't particularly like is, okay, it's not rap, it's obviously not rap, it's spoken word. But why is the spoken word so monotone? Even if you're trying to go for an angle of like, well, it's the military is very monotone or whatever, it doesn't really seem that way. There's a certain level of, you can tell if it's a very particular type of monotone. But this one, it's more like he just kind of talked for a bit and then decided to put music on it. I don't really see the conviction in it, which is something where spoken word, you really need that. It's kind of like how people think you can just throw paint on a canvas and people will think it's art. I mean, modern art, they kind of already do. They'll think it's like exactly the same as someone doing it deliberately when there's like this big like color theory and everything going on where it's not, like you need to know more about it before you go into the field to realize that, which is something with music that I would definitely recommend. I guess just eyeballing it. Oh, there's a FNAF one. What is that? I am too scared to click on it. I'm just gonna scroll past for now. Yeah, we're trying to look for the next one already. I got a bit bored of talking about that one. Did I just hit the angst jackpot? I did!
As could be, I told her she was beautiful, but she didn't believe me. Frustration consumed me, how could she not see? Despite the perfection I perceive, she sees inadequacy.
I'm sure there are a million other people who have commented on this like emo sad boy sort of thing that he's trying to do with his hair and everything, but it's just really creepy to see this guy who's obviously not letting like a natural age and natural bodily functions happen, and he's just trying to put more and more makeup on it. Again, a billion other people have said this before, but it's like, it's getting more and more like fake, more layers over themselves. And there comes a time when, as the other generations grow up and leave the audience, there's a point where the makeup and everything just won't work anymore. It's gonna happen, it's inevitable. So the next audience that comes along doesn't want to be there. And that's really sad, but that's the problem if you start doing stuff like this. And I think that that's really something that applies to him. I think it was mainly brought up and mentioned to him from the various videos and things that I've seen ages ago, but I really wanted to bring it up again because I think that that is one of the most, not only existentially terrifying things that I've heard, especially just considering what someone else is going through in real time, and I mean it's kind of his fault, but whatever. But also just like, it's very clear to see that that's what's happening here. This is like a piece of evidence in my opinion. Oh, also that hair. That hair is very 2008. I just watched a video this morning that Glam and Gore did where she tried to do the whole MySpace emo look, and she went out and got those raccoon tails from Hot Topic, and I died inside. I wasn't even doing anything around then, but I still died inside. It's like radioactive. It just gets you, even if you weren't really doing anything at that time, even if you weren't nowhere near the emo scene, it gets you. It's like the thing. But any of you who were up to that sort of thing in 2008, I just gave you a heart attack. Remember mentioning the raccoon tails, didn't I? Yeah, I did. So this song is interesting to me because it's one of those angsty sort of rap love ballads that had that sort of I'm in pain sort of thing going on. But it's not necessarily about the song itself. I think the song itself has these elements that we've talked about over and over again where I would not really give you anything by mentioning them again. But what I want to talk about for this one is it's interesting to see when you look at, in context, the person who is singing or talking or whatever he's doing. See, this is not something that I usually do. I usually do the opposite. With bands that I really like, I actually just try and ignore who the person is when I listen to them, unless it's a very emotional thing where I'm supposed to listen to it, like Elliott Smith. I know a lot about Elliott Smith because it kind of helps me understand the music more and I'm really into it. But for stuff like my favorite band, Ghost, I actually don't really know anything about them much. Not only because Papa Emeritus doesn't really do the whole personal thing, and he doesn't really put himself out there too much, and I respect that, but also just because I don't really care. I mean, there's a bunch of stuff that the band went through with the lead singer. They kind of had this little back and forth, and you know, one of them was being an asshole, but I can't remember which side it was. It doesn't really matter to me because the music is good. I like the music. You could say that if you're into something edgy like Marilyn Manson. The guy has his own problems, and some of it comes through in the music, and you can analyze that all you want, but when it comes to day-to-day listening, it doesn't really matter, because you enjoy the music and that's about it. So I think that this is, if you look at all of the songs that kind of have this sort of, and you think about the person that we're talking about with all of the allegations of psychological manipulation, emotion manipulation, just the daily shit that goes on the internet, no less. It does take on a very creepy meaning, and I think that that is something very much to take note of if you are a connoisseur of bad music anomalies with weird histories such as I, even though I've only done one video on it. There's a lot of stuff about the banana song. Like, there's a lot of stuff about the banana song. I actually had no idea that there was this much. Does this guy think that he's supposed to cash in on the views from this thing, or is he just that obsessed with the banana thing? I remember reading this dumb creepypasta once about this guy who was like, I need to be a good teacher for my students, and then one day one of the kids was like, you look like a banana, and then all the kids started laughing. So he turned it into this thing in the classroom where every day he would have a banana fact and he would dress up as a banana to go to school, and he started making banana bread for the kids every like Tuesday or something. And then he started like putting his own skin in it because he was going mad, like a lot of creepypastas have him do. So in the end he was like, I am a banana, I will put my soul into this. Wait a minute. I just thought of something. The Death Note thing and then the banana thing. I don't know why. Something's happening in my head. Am I really gonna do that? I think I am. Alright, that's enough of that. There's also a lot of comedy songs, as I said before. I don't want to look at it, at least in this video. I might have to make a part 2.